This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No. Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Morning. Welcome to DBL. You all feeling good?
I just can't believe how good everybody on the panel looks.
Oh.
You guys look amazing today.
Really?
Yes. I feel like we should be walking into like some kind of charity fundraiser or something.
And like in slow-mo.
Yeah.
And slow-mo. I like it. I love it. All right.
Doors.
We got a lot to talk about here. Will we be seeing former President Donald Trump in handcuffs? Over the weekend, Trump posted on his social media platform saying he's going to be arrested tomorrow by Manhattan's district attorney over alleged hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. Trump also repeatedly called for folks to protest and, quote, take our nation back. Now, there's no word from authorities at all if Trump will actually be arrested, but clearly there's a lot to talk about here. So let's talk with Trump's potential arrest. What do you think the chances are that this would happen? What do you think of these charges? And do you think we're going to see a mugshot, fingerprint, handcuffed Donald Trump?
Yeah.
I don't know what to think anymore.
You could say that about all of 2023.
Yeah, I don't know what to think. Now, could you break down exactly what this indictment is about? Because it appears in some circles of, the social media neighborhood, some people are saying this isn't happening at all.
Right.
Some people are saying it's definitely happening. What's your read on it from the legal standpoint?
I think it will be happening. I don't know if he'll be arrested or asked to surrender to the police, but I do think he wouldn't have brought it up and tried to become a martyr in that way if it wasn't going to happen. A lot of this is about money that he paid to Stormy Daniels for the alleged hookup. But the problem with what he did is he covered it up, and the cover-up involved falsifying documents, and that leads to election laws and campaign finance laws that really are could serve 4 years, certain amount of prison time for this. So I think it will happen. I don't know if they're going to take Trump by handcuffs because I think that's what Trump sort of wants in a way. What do you think?
We talked about this maybe like 3-4 months ago, and I asked if Trump would be arrested, and I said, I didn't think that would happen because I thought that there would be violence, and there still could be if this alleged situation, if this hypothetical situation happens. But what I didn't factor in, as I've been thinking about this all weekend, because this has been coming for a while, is maybe we already saw that violence on January 6th. And maybe you have one chance to shoot your shot with your followers and say, defend me here. They defended, and now a lot of those people are sitting in jail. A lot of those people lost their jobs, their livelihoods, their respect with their families. So now, who's the second level of infantry that you are going to bring in? You can only ring that bell one time. So I think now, because remember, people taking private jets to January 6th, like we're going to go in there and do whatever on the desk and it's going to be fine. And people realize, oh, it's not fine. Oh, they just got my boy and he's doing 4.5 years and he's got a 4-year-old, So I think that's it. I think people are now seeing the reality of what happens when you do that, and maybe, Jeff, that'll make them a little bit more tepid to put their foot back in that water.
Yeah, let's get to that next
I want to
beat.
get to that beat and then get your take on this. Thank you for that. Let's talk about Trump's calls for the protests. So authorities in New York are already preparing for mass demonstrations. Meantime, some of his supporters are now suggesting protesters create a, quote, patriot moat around Mar-a-Lago that would prevent authorities from getting in.
Basically, wouldn't that be a wall?
Yeah, it's locking arms with men, the men's locking arms. It's not an actual water moat. I just want to let people know. And finally, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says he doesn't think people should protest and went on to say that if you actually spoke to Trump, he doesn't believe people should either. So what do we think of this, Jeff? Do you worry these protests will become another January 6th?
I don't. I'm kind of with Al on this one. I think people saw what happened on January 6th. I think the majority of the country was against it. It was foolish. You don't attack our Capitol. And now I think just defending Trump at this point is a mistake. I don't know. First of all, it's Tuesday. Go to work. What are you doing? Making a moat. Hey, Dad, what are you doing? I'm going to go make a moat with Pete.
Yeah.
Go to work. Enough with this. This is a circus. I don't think this is going to, even if they do perp walk Trump and do all that and get the mugshot, I don't think it's going to make a martyr out of him. I think people are done with the circus, and that's just me. There's going to be certain people out there, even if there's 100,
right,
the media is going to be all over it, right, and make it this big thing. So it's just, I'm over it. I think America might be too, but I could be wrong.
I agree with you. I don't think that the media, if there are 100 though, I think that they're going to make a bigger issue of that being
the lack of people.
Right.
I agree with you.
And that's what my question lies is this like a litmus test to see how people feel about him at this point? Are people still willing to show up in the same ways that they were showing up before for him? And if after all of this, he doesn't get that type of support,
yeah, it's just
that's going to be...
The moat is more like a pond.
Yeah, and also if you
like a Red Rover.
Right. There's going to be like, yeah, I think that says a lot about like the midterms. What is the bellwether of people and their feelings on Trump? Well, if there's 100 people versus thousands, that's an enormous difference to make, especially to his competitors in the running. And may I say, as we get going, let me just scroll that prompter real quick. Scroll that prompter. I just want to say this about the person that they're going to weigh in all this, and it's creating all sorts of controversy. Go ahead and scroll it. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has not yet released any statement about Trump's potential arrest. Some are saying his radio silence is a big mistake that will ruin his reputation with Trump supporters. Nikki Haley, who's also running for president in 2024, has also not yet commented. What do you think about the people in charge in Florida, for instance, and his competitors?
Well, Tori, you would know better than anybody. Like the governor of all people, you can't be talking out of school into a microphone about a potential coming indictment or an arrest. Any words you say can and will. And any words you say can and will could possibly get him off if it looked like there was some kind of collusion starting at the top of the state. I think the best thing to do is a lot of times sit back and just see how it plays out. But I think when we, just moving back to the moat, I hope also when we're looking at this, remember at the optics. January 6th was at the Capitol. That was like to defend our nation, defend every. Now we're just talking about a public land property near a golf course. And I don't think people are as passionate about that as they are about our Capitol. And I think just where we are really kind of shows that we are kind of getting down to his deep base of people that are supporting, because the people that are out there, those are the people that are still like, they'll always be Team Trump. But I think people have been falling off. I think people were mad about the wall and feeling that they weren't taken care of there. People were mad about the corporate tax cut. I think people are a little bit more disillusioned with him than they were.
I agree with you. I just want to get your opinion. I do agree with you both. I think it's going to be a lot less oomph than they had before. What do you guys think of seeing a former president, like, even talking about being arrested? That's an enormously big deal. We've never had it before. And also the fact that he seemingly has a mob that he can call at will to do these things, right? That he's above the law. He calls this prosecutorial misconduct, right? Because they're investigating that. And he can call a mob at will to protest that. What kind of power is that? And what do you think this means about the downfall of the legitimacy of sort of the presidency?
I think we've been dealing with that since Election Day, no matter what side you're on, to be quite honest.
The legitimacy?
Yeah, I just remember feeling like nothing is going to be the same, and a lot of people wanted it that way.
Yeah.
Like, when you have to think about that, if you're in a situation where you aren't thriving, someone is seeing you, they're speaking to you. More millionaires are made, first-time millionaires are made during like times of struggle. Like that completely upsets the balance of the status quo. So if you felt like you're someone who wasn't getting your just due, you work hard, you don't understand why you're not on top, this guy comes in and is like, yeah, I agree with you, and then upset the balance, the balance is permanently upset. So I don't have any feelings about someone who at one point was called a president being arrested. None.
Zero. Interesting. And for anyone out there, by the way, who thinks this is hush money, this isn't going to go well, this is New York Times, just so you guys know. This is all the other things: racketeering, conning charities, conspiracy to defraud the United States, false statements, contempt of court. So please know that this is not the only thing that is awaiting President or former President Trump, and we shall see, and of course carry you along with that story. Coming up on DBL, our interview with Yvette Nicole Brown. She's telling us all about her new show that's being called The Modern Day Golden Girls. Plus, today is the official start of spring. But have you already been wishing winter away? We're talking all about a new study that says a lot of people just can't handle the cold. Did you order the code red?
That person can't.
Somebody roll the clip.
Let's make sure we have Jeff's sex tape.
Wow, things are getting spicy here at DBL.
Cold-hearted snake, look into his eyes.
Let's roll that again, everybody.
we're on. This is Kelly Rowan. We're just having a chit chat about that email.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can do Thursday.
I can't do Thursday, so.
I maybe can do Friday. Mondays. Oh, Monday's even better.
Yeah.
Monday?
Erica's magenta velvet suit is the bomb, says Jamie Brightly. It's crushed velvet, and we were discussing earlier.
Sorry, I'm eating Sour Patch Kids.
If there's anything other than velvet that isn't crushed, like can you just have velvet?
Yeah, it's just velvet.
Is there crushed silk?
Yeah. Yeah, I sold wedding silk.
is wrinkled.
No, I had crushed silk that was like a crepe material for wedding dresses.
Okay, I feel that.
But I was interested. Remember, what is this, velvet? Okay. Oh God, I love that song. Remember that song?
Yeah. Can I wear an all-black velvet suit, Chris?
For work? What
Yeah.
color would the tie be?
Maybe the day we find out we're being canceled, we're like, hey, you do whatever you need.
Absolutely.
What do you feel like you're needing?
I'm gonna go
We're
yes.
not going to be. It's impossible.
What's your tie would be in black velvet? Black velvet?
No, you can't. You have to. The tie's got to pop.
Yeah, right?
Because the black velvet would be like.
A navy or like a pink?
That's what Anthony is wearing.
Okay.
A black velvet tux.
Ooh. Okay. And what? And velvet had. Anthony had the black velvet tux,
With
but
the
it looked like he had
bow
the
tie.
brown lapels, like these parts.
No, it's black.
This is black too.
Where is he gonna wear that?
It was for the
Show this,
NWA.
BJ. This is Anthony. He's darling. That's what
You
it's
just
a
see
black
my phone.
velvet tuxedo.
Can I ask you guys? Would it be okay if I was a guy that wore a suit everywhere I went?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Like, I would think it's weirdly formal.
Even if they're like some clearly like, oh, dinner after 7 suit.
Yeah, I mean, I know guys who do that.
You do?
It's very like it's a gentleman's style, so to speak.
Looks thicker than normal.
I've been wearing a mask for 3 years.
Welcome back to DBL and happy spring, everyone.
Yes.
Hey.
Are we cheering
Little music
for
or
spring?
yeah, I need some sunlight. Today is the spring equinox, meaning it's the official start of the new season. Speaking of which, there's a new survey out of women, only women, and a majority of them say they can't make it through 2 months of wintry weather. In fact, many say they're completely over the cold by at least January.
Put some gloves on.
You're not invited to the survey. Survey found the major reason women hate winter has to do with self-confidence, with 49% of women saying winter leaves them feeling unconfident, mostly because, well, that picture's not helpful, of issues with their skin and dryness. Erica?
I'm just not a big fan of perpetual cold, but I'm also from Chicago, so I just know that's the way most of the world works.
How Buddhist of you. That's so beautiful of you.
But no, I definitely struggle with seasonal depression. I have pretty much my entire adult life. And there is something to needing to be out in the sun.
Yeah.
You know, like needing that vitamin D boost.
What do you think, Jeff? Do you have this for a guy?
I think everybody does,
Right.
right? This survey is super sexist.
Are you offended?
Yeah, I can't. I don't even want to talk anymore. But no, I
Triggered.
seriously, like growing up in Chicago, January, February after Christmas, it's brutal.
Yeah.
At least Denver, it's a little more mild, or winters here. But I do enjoy the seasons. I enjoy the change. I love fall. I love spring because you get to enjoy each one. And then, especially in Chicago, you really summertime shy.
Oh my God.
You appreciate that. It's March. It's 42 degrees. Excuse me, can I sit outside?
Yeah.
Like everyone wants to sit outside. It's crazy. So you really appreciate the seasons. Now, from today forward, it's going to start getting the longer days, which I really enjoy. Yeah.
I agree. What about you? Do you get depressed or are you just kind of robotic?
I don't think I get depressed, but I think, like, looking back on it, you definitely do kind of get locked into a lifestyle. There is something to do with just sunlight. And when you wake up and it's dark, if you work in a building like we do, where there are no windows, like a lot of people sometimes have to, like, there's no light in there, and then you get in your car and it's dark when you walk to your car, it's hard to go to the gym.
Yeah.
It's hard to want to go home and cook. You just kind of, there's just something inside of you, like, just go
Hibernate.
back to sleep and it'll be better tomorrow. And it's like, but in the summertime, you're like, we're all going right to Erica's after work. Something's happening, and then you know.
You're trying to get over to my.
Yeah, we want to hang out
I
at your
still
house.
haven't been to Erica's in a long time. I'm just saying. I don't know if I did something last time.
I'm going to make that work. I will say, after season 1, because we have fake like sunlight.
Yes.
We're under studio
We're
lights.
like a casino.
Right. My vitamin D levels were so low.
Oh, wow.
From the amount of time that we were in here, I wasn't getting any sun. And for black people, that's super serious because we don't have those telltale signs that we're not getting enough sun.
That's a good point. You know,
So
as
be
a
careful.
white person, I feel fat, pasty, sad, gray, and scaly during winter.
All right.
That's a white person.
I was about to say,
That is a white person.
we all know the stereotype.
White woman thing. That's exactly what it is. Coming up on DBL, we talk with the fabulous
God.
Yvette Nicole Brown. She's giving us the scoop on her new sitcom.
Okay, I get it. It's never fun to sit down and do your taxes, but many tax professionals say the sooner you do it, the better, to either get your refund faster or make sure your taxes are paid on time without any penalty. So with inflation and lower refunds on many tax returns, we wanted to look at whether people are filing earlier or later and why. To get answers, we looked at data from the IRS and spoke with Jackson Hewitt Chief Tax Information Officer Mark Stieber. Right as the tax season opened, the week of February 3rd, IRS data shows filers were hot out of the gate. Total returns process was nearly up 30% compared to last year.
By comparison, 4 or 5 weeks ago, it was up double digits, both total volume, taxpayers who electronically filed, taxpayers who used a professional, and taxpayers who did it themselves.
But then
it slowed way down.
by the end of February, total returns processed was only up by 4.3%.
And then it slowed down because people are probably expecting lower refunds and putting it off, or may even have balance dues. We're seeing quite a bit of that.
The latest IRS data shows the average refund taxpayers are receiving is down from $3,400 a year ago to $3,000 today. And those stats show the amount of people who have filed their taxes at this point in the season is about the same as last year. Stieber says he expects to see a large number of people file at the very last minute.
About 55 million have filed so far. So that gives you about 110 million people that have, another 4 weeks or so to file and get those taxes done.
Those 11th hour filers, Stieber says, often owe money, and they're trying to postpone that painful payment to the bitter end. With your Verify Fact Check, I'm Megan Bragg.
I didn't think the three of us living together would be a good idea, but this week has been a pleasant surprise.
I knew me and Bernie would be good, but I thought living with you would feel like living in a convent and not the fun Whoopi Goldberg kind.
Keisha, if you set foot into a convent, you would burst into flames.
When I did, I didn't.
Can you imagine living the bachelorette lifestyle with your best friends in a penthouse? Well, our next guest is doing just that alongside Kim Whitley and Tisha Campbell in the most watched half-hour series on Bounce TV, Act Your Age. And some people are comparing it to the Golden Girls. Check out our conversation with Yvette Nicole Brown. So I just have to say, there is no way that the three of you could be faking that chemistry on Act Your Age. So are you, Tisha and Kim, actually best friends in real life?
Yes, we are longtime friends. I started as a fan of both of theirs because they started their careers a little before me. But we've had the best time. We've all worked around each other, but never really had the chance to work together and support each other. And Kim Whitley and Tisha Campbell are legends in this industry, and to be able to be on set and learn and steal from them has been a great gift.
Yvette, you've been in television for a long time now. How is this different at this point in your career?
Well, this is the first time for me, Kim and Tisha, where we get to actually be leads. We're not just the girlfriend or the boss or the best friend of someone else. We get to be those people and celebrate and support each other. And I want to mention our two other cast members. We have Mariah Robinson, who plays my daughter, and Nathan Anderson, that plays Kim's son. So every generation is on Act Your Age. And Allison Faust, our wonderful creator and showrunner, created a space for everybody to come and have fun and laugh. And it's just great.
I love all that. Speaking of acting your age, you look amazing and you just look happy and content. Are you enjoying the age and phase of your life you're in right now?
I am. There's been a lot of talk about when a woman is in her prime. Somebody had something to say about it. I am 50 51. I am
Yes.
proudly 51, and I am 100% living my best life. I know who I am. I know what to wear. I'm always comfortable. I just feel like when a woman gets over the 40 threshold, every year after that, she's just living her best life. So, yeah, I feel really good.
She's
and I'm
51.
glad you guys can see it.
You look great.
Yeah, you're glowing.
You are, and just congrats on all your success. Deserved, not surprising. You're amazing. So let's get to something that's a little more depressing, but also kind of just real life, like your show deals with. I've lost a parent. I lost my father. I know you've been through losing a parent and caring for a parent. What's become most important to you as somebody that has dealt with this?
You know, as a caregiver, it's been 10 years for me taking care of my dad. The most important thing is that I shine a light on what it's like to be a caregiver. I'm actually a part of a really great new initiative called Caring Across Generations. And if you go to Twitter to @CaringAcrossGen, you can find out more about what we're doing. And we're just trying to encourage media and television and film to show more examples of what it's like to be a caregiver and to receive care, so that more people have resources and someone they can talk to. So that's the new initiative. It's me, it's Megan Thee Stallion, Bradley Cooper, Seth and Lauren Miller-Rogan, Richard Louie, Brantley Evans from P-Valley. We're all coming together to shine a light on caregiving. I'm so excited about it. And Aging Pooh is the one that created this, so it's really wonderful.
Wow. Oh, you know, first of all, I just want to shout out our girl Tori Shulman, because she's always very transparent about her life as a caregiver, and always brings to the forefront, you know, people out there who might be watching the show who are going through this. So the fact that you're connecting those dots in those ways, I know is very important, and we really appreciate that.
Very much so. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. But before we go, I want to say something a little bit more lighthearted. I know about your style because the same designer, Sir Algernon, dressed us both and got us on the best dress.
Yes, Sir Algernon.
Did he do it? Didn't he do it, sis? Look at that gown. Look at that gown.
Didn't he do that? Yes.
He got that. Wore that to the NAACP Awards. It was pink and green in honor of my sorority, and he got it together. He designed the whole thing.
Yes,
and covered from neck to ankle. Covered from neck to ankle.
Now you're advocating for body inclusivity with the "It's Bigger Than Me" movement. So tell us about that.
Listen, the most important thing for people to walk away with is that obesity is a disease. And I think once you look at it through that lens, you're kinder to yourself if you're dealing with it, and you're kinder to others. I've been living with obesity my entire life. My weight goes up, it goes down, but I manage it with my doctor the same way I manage my type 2 diabetes. So it's bigger than me. We have this great series. We put a new video up every other week. And if you go to itsbiggerthan.com, you can find out more. And also it's @biggerthan online. And it has a lot of information, and it's a great series talking to influencers and doctors, and we're demystifying the whole idea of obesity. So please go to my page to find out more, or to the website to find out more.
Well done, Yvette. Congratulations on your advocacy, your success.
Could you have anything more
she's
going
perfect.
on?
DBL Nation,
so great. Congratulations.
Don't miss a new episode of Actor Age, airing Saturdays on Bounce TV and streaming on Brown Sugar shortly after. And be sure to check out Caring Across America and the It's Bigger Than Me movement. What up, Kermie? Thanks again, Yvette. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Sometimes it seems like the only thing as popular as TikTok is trying to ban TikTok. For years, lawmakers have feared that because the app is owned by a Chinese company, it could give the Chinese government influence over American users and access to their data. A bipartisan group of senators just introduced a bill they say is designed to address those concerns, and the Biden administration endorsed it. But could it actually result in a nationwide TikTok ban? Let's verify. Our sources: Senate Bill 686, Senator Mark Warner, the White House, the Department of Commerce, and the Department of Justice. The bill is called the Restrict Act, and it doesn't explicitly ban TikTok, but it makes such a ban possible. It instructs the Secretary of Commerce to investigate any information technology or communications companies that are owned or could be influenced by foreign adversaries to see if they pose a national security threat. Then it gives the Secretary broad authority to mitigate any dangerous transactions. So we can verify, yes, a bill currently in Congress could result in a ban on TikTok. But there are a lot of steps to get there. First, it has to pass the Senate and the House and be signed into law by the President. Then the Secretary of Commerce would have to choose to investigate TikTok specifically, find that it poses a threat, decide the best course of action would be a ban, and successfully defend that ban against legal challenges. As for how a ban would be implemented, we don't know for sure, but one option could be making it illegal for any American company to do business with TikTok. That would force Apple, Google, and others to remove it from their app stores. TikTok, for its part, says a ban would be a bad idea, calling it an act of censorship on its American users. Some lawmakers say they don't support a ban, but would like some restrictions on TikTok, which this bill could also allow. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Some doctors' offices are using the hashtag #VastMadness to encourage men to get a vasectomy in time for the NCAA tournament. But is March really a popular month for vasectomies? Let's verify. Our sources are the Mayo Clinic, a 2018 study on vasectomies in the U.S. published in the Urology Gold Journal, and urologist Dr. Ajay Nangia with the University of Kansas Health System. A vasectomy is a medical contraception procedure that stops sperm from getting into semen. The Mayo Clinic says it takes a person a few days to heal. Nangia tells Verify around 20 years ago, a urologist launched an ad campaign to convince people to get a vasectomy and spend their recovery time watching March Madness.
Initially, it was much more of a sensationalism, but actually started becoming true. An urban legend that actually became true.
One study estimates about 500,000 vasectomies are performed each year in the U.S. Most are performed in March or at the end of the year after many people meet their insurance deductible. So, yes, March is a popular month for vasectomies. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Welcome back. We're all getting older. That's an attack. But there's an easy way to increase our health, and it's literally a breath of fresh air. It's time for some joint and muscle support brought to you by Omega XL. So today's the first day of spring, and based on a new study, experts are prescribing forest bathing. This is it from Japan. That's when you simply spend time in nature and enjoy the great outdoors. They found that this practice supports the mental, physical, and emotional health of adults 65 and older. Omega XL has improved the lives of millions of consumers, supported by 30 years of clinical research. Omega XL's powerful and proven benefits have transformed the lives of athletes, celebrities, and dedicated daily users. So call 800-813-6801 or visit omegaxl.com for more information. Real quick, we got a great story before we go. Bruce Willis celebrated his 68th birthday yesterday with his family by his side 1 month after they revealed his dementia diagnosis. This is he. I was so happy to see this. Bruce's ex-wife, Demi Moore, posted this video of his family singing happy birthday. Bruce looked in good spirits. He blew out the candles on his own birthday pie. His wife, Emma, also posted a video saying she started the day by crying and that she experiences moments of sadness and grief every day. That is the life of a caregiver. That is the life of a caregiver. All right, have a wonderful day, you guys. DBL is new every day, and we will see you tomorrow.